The walk to our room became a silent journey. Sam and I held hands, but for some reason there were no words to say between us. This entire situation sat in my mind and festered, plaguing my thoughts and causing me to remain speechless. All of this seemed so unreal and hard to imagine, yet let alone believe. All of this seemed so unreal and hard to imagine, let alone believe. How was this possible? I felt Sam squeeze my hand, causing me to look over at him. Was he feeling my anxiousness somehow?
Hey, you sure you're all right?
I stared at him a bit longer before replying. Nope. I wasn't all right. All of this was a muddled mess, and I couldn't help but worry. It had to have been obvious anyway for Sam to notice and ask. Sam frowned a bit and released my hand to wrap his arm around my shoulders.
We'll get back.
Will we? I couldn't deny the doubt that entered my mind and influenced my response, but Sam gave me a small shake, nodding.
We will.
I eventually let out a sigh and nodded as well. He was right. I needed to shake this feeling out of my mind. Sam and I were guided through the hallway until we finally reached our room, which happened to be the ambassador room I had slept in before. It was good to know that I was going to a place I recognized. I sat on the bed and let out a sigh, feeling the worry of this entire situation sink in and fade out of my mind. I wasn't alone, at least anymore, and Sam was willing to fight for me to return home. It was unexpected, but it was amazing to have Sam here. Sam looked around the room, taking in the space.
Fancy room?
Yeah, it's apparently an open ambassador's room. They let me sleep here when I came.
That was how long ago?
Like a day? Sam laughed and stuffed his hands into his pockets. What was so funny?
Oh, fuck. I forgot the time difference between this world and the human world.
Wait, time difference?
Yeah, time goes slower here and stuff. So, like, while you've been here a day, you've only been gone from the human world for 4 or 5 hours.
Wait, huh? I was only gone for 4 or 5 hours? How was that possible? Then again, I was in another plane, so it was somewhat understandable. My brain just couldn't wrap around it, so I held my head, staring at the floor in shock. Sam laughed again and walked over to me, sitting by my side, before he wrapped an arm around my shoulders in comfort. Honestly, it's not that shocking. Time difference, big whoop.
At least we found you. If it weren't for Damien and Twyla, it would have taken us longer.
I nodded, relieved regardless of how I was found. While I couldn't get back, there was a beacon of hope now, which replaced my previous worry and concern. I leaned my head onto Sam's shoulder, feeling exhaustion hit me like a wave, but I didn't want to sleep just yet. I was with Sam, so I wished to stay up just a bit longer and be awake with him. Sam?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what to say. I just wanted to be awake a while longer. I looked up at him as he turned his head to look down at me, patiently waiting for me to ask whatever he assumed I was going to ask. Help me stay awake? If I wanted to stay awake longer, then Sam needed to help me do that. Sam looked down at me and turned our bodies gently to face one another.
What do you want me to do?
Anything. I didn't want our reunion to end for the day with us just going to bed. A kiss, a hug, a conversation, anything was acceptable as long as I got to be awake that much longer. Sam gently lifted my chin and lowered his head to kiss me, allowing me the choice to take his lips with mine by stopping a mere centimeter away. I took it and melted into the kiss, wrapping my arms around him. My head and my heart became full of Sam, feeling his heartbeat against my chest, tasting his lips against my own. Memories flooded back of us holding one another, and I began to mentally thank God for letting us be together again. Sam wrapped his arms around my waist, pulling me close, but not taking us any further. The kiss was slow, intimate, and romantic in every form. There was yet another thing I loved about Sam. He knew when to take things slow with me, and he knew when not to get deeper than that. He respected me, loved me, and wanted to protect me with his entire being. I was blessed to have him as mine, and mine alone. As we pulled away at last, Sam let a smug grin paint his face.
Well, I guess one good thing came out of this. I get to kick my old man's ass.
Okay. I knew Sam hated his father, but was it really a good thing? In retrospect, yes. Morally, it was questionable. You really hate him, don't you? The smile on Sam's face slowly diminished to an angry expression, his eyes full of rage, but his mouth pressed into a fine line.
Yeah, I do.
Sam slowly stood back up and walked towards the fireplace, staring into it with his hands clenched into fists at his sides.
That bastard made me and my brothers miserable for years. We finally escaped, and then he grows the balls to try to steal the woman I love away from me.
Sam.
That bastard kills for fun. He burns kingdoms to the ground for not submitting to him, and murders hundreds just because he can. He has a fucking harem of people and replaces every one of them with prisoners of war by the handful. If he had gotten his hands on you, if he even touched you, I would've...
His fists tightened at his side. I stared wide-eyed as blood, little by little, began to drip through the crevices of his fingers. I stood and rushed over, laying myself across his back and pressing my forehead to the back of his neck. Sam, it's okay.
Is it?
I looked up. Sam turned around to face me. He didn't touch me, as his hands were still wounded from his tight fists, but his expression dimmed a bit to a look of sadness.
I would have never forgiven myself if you fell into his hands.
I stared deep into Sam's gaze, seeing the fear behind them. I was scared as well, but thankful to be saved by Cero and Diana. Someone above was watching over me carefully, and I thanked God for that. You thank God a little too much, considering you're marrying a demon. I wrapped my arms around Sam's neck and leaned my head to his, pressing my forehead to his own. I'm safe now. Diana and Cero saved me from that.
Thank God for that.
Not you two. Sam wrapped his arms around me, fists still closed, and pulled me to him tightly. I could see him biting his lip, almost piercing the skin, but maintaining some form of control. I frowned, but allowed silence to pass between us. We'll defeat the demon lord and go home soon. Sam nodded against my forehead, remaining quiet. We had to let this pass. We had to move on and mentally prepare ourselves for war. Sam would get his anger quelled, and we would be able to return home at last. We had to. Sam and I eventually pulled away from each other, locking our gazes lovingly.
Come on. We can't stay up all night.
I know. But I wanna. Sam lifted his hand, which was now free of wounds and blood, and guided me to bed, crawling in after I settled in between the sheets. Sam and I embraced lovingly and let the darkness of the night take over, bringing us to a quiet slumber. The dark of sleep was usually a friend of mine, only showing me nightmares on the rarest of occasions. The nightmare of my dying sent shivers down my body as I recalled it, but I knew that it was only a dream. Would I have one like that again? I hope not. Would I have no choice in the matter if another came? That was another story. I opened my eyes to find myself in the mouth of a cave that descended beneath the earth. Behind and above me was a bright light where I could see my friends and my family. However, as I looked down into the darkness, I caught the sight of Sam walking away further into the cave. Sam? I didn't answer. Sam continued forward, losing himself in the darkness. I instantly began to follow, forgetting about the light for a moment, before stopping and looking back. My family had a look of despair, while my friends held each other, watching me with heartbroken faces. Was this some sort of message? Was I following Sam into a place that my friends and family could not be in? Was this my future? I became torn. What was I going to do?
You are not worthy.
All of a sudden, the darkness became full of fire, and the bare outline of Sam flashed before burning away in the light of flame. He couldn't even let out a scream of pain as he was instantly burned to ash. Sam!
Run! Run!
Diana's voice echoed through the air, but I was frozen in place, watching the flames rush at me to take me as well. If I ran back, my heart would be scarred forever with the memory of flames taking my love away. If I stayed, I would die with Sam. I stood in the middle, unsure of what to do. As the flames took me, I woke up in a hot sweat. Gah! Gripping the covers, I sat up, staring at the far wall before looking around. My heart was beating wildly as sweat ran down my cheeks and the sides of my head. Another nightmare. This time, however, Sam woke up with me.
Whoa! Hey, what's wrong?
I looked to Sam, seeing him not burnt or as ashes, but perfectly okay. I turned towards him and wrapped my arms around him tightly, now desperate not to let him go. Sam, despite being surprised, wrapped his arms around me and held me close. 2 nightmares, both leaving me and Sam engulfed in flames. I died in the first, he died in the second. What was I going to believe anymore? Sam rubbed my back gently and planted a kiss on my shoulder.
Hey, it's okay, alright? It was a stupid nightmare.
But you died.
You know I can handle anything that comes my way.
Cocky little piece of shit. Could he really? He was strong and he was fast. But was he powerful enough to withstand whatever had let loose those flames to swallow him whole? You are not worthy. What did the voice mean? How was Sam not worthy? What was he not worthy of? There were a million questions running through my mind, and none of them could be answered. At least, not at that moment. I simply rested my head on Sam's chest and let him pull us back down to the bed to sleep.
Whatever happens, I'll always be here. Alright?
I nodded and closed my eyes, praying that I would not see the nightmare again. As fate was kind once more, I slept peacefully the remainder of the night.